Weeks, nights, unmuted. Hello, everyone. How do I get this going? Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me on Spaces. This is James O'Keefe. Hello, everybody. Are we live?
You're live.
We're live. Nice. 100%. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special edition of On the Inside with James O'Keefe. We have a special treat for you today. We have launched a film called Line in the Sand, and we have some of the cast and crew on the Spaces. So we're going to spend an hour and we're going to talk to everybody. But before I do that and introduce all the people, Jeremy Boring of the Daily Wire got me this bottle of whiskey. I don't really drink. I'm not much of a drinker. I don't think I've had a drink in a month. I swear to God, I don't drink. I drink sparkling water. And people think that I'm drinking something that's not sparkling water. It's a little undercover trick. You give the bartender a 20 and you have them play along, right? So I'm just going to pour myself a little of this. I don't know what this is, whistling pig. It looks expensive. I don't know. A little bit of this. I got the tweed blazer on. It's cold outside here in New Jersey, in the nondescript building that we're in. You want to know where we are? I'm not going to tell you where we are, but I'm only here for another day and then I go on the road. So I'm just going to have a little sip of this. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. That's actually pretty good. That's hard liquor right there. It's pretty good. And that's my celebratory drink. Line in the Sand, lineinthesandmovie.com. I just want to say a few words about this movie, and then we're going to go to the Border Patrol Whistleblower. Is the Border Patrol Whistleblower in the Spaces?
Check.
Okay, well, if he's not in the Spaces, we'll go to a few people. We got Anthony, we got Tara, we got Corey, we got Rio Grande Valley Truth, we got Kais, we got Spirit the Rapper, not to be confused with Chance the Rapper. But before I get to all these people, I just want to make a few comments. The film has been doing extraordinarily well. Tucker Carlson and his team have informed me of just how many subscribers they've received. And the film has been overwhelmingly reviewed in a positive way. We have some screenings tomorrow in Los Angeles, screenings in Florida, screenings in Dallas. We have a screening tonight in New Jersey in theaters. And I think this is one of those films that is going to make its way into theaters. The film is not a political film. I'm going to have another sip of this stuff. Vermont. It's from Vermont. Speaking of Vermont, Zachary, the Border Patrol agent, is being retaliated against in Vermont tomorrow at 2:00 up there in Newport, Vermont. And we want citizen journalists to go to the parking lot and report on that. More on that in a bit. The film is a politically agnostic film. And I want to hear from a lot of the folks, but I just wanted to say a few words about this. If you haven't seen it, it's intellectually overwhelming. It's emotionally overwhelming to the audience. And it highlights the absurdity and the irony of reality. I've been told by people who know about these sorts of things that there really isn't a comparison for this film. Why? Because everything in the film is unscripted and is real. And quite unlike reality television, it kind of makes a point, but it doesn't do so overtly. And it really does bring up some very serious issues, which is how do we deal with this need to earn a living and to preserve ourselves, our family, put food on the table with doing the morally right thing? And at what point do those two things conflict? So it's not an easy question to answer. And then you're dealing with children. So if you haven't seen it, lineinthesandmovie.com will redirect you to where you can purchase the movie for $9 a month. It's a good use of money, and it supports this cast and crew and helps us do more things like it. More to say about the film. Let's go to our cast. Maybe 5 minutes a person here. We have Aaron on standby. But who shall we go to first? Hey, Anthony Rubin, are you there? Anthony Rubin, muckraker.com.
Yes, sir. I'm right here.
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. How are you, man?
I know that you and I have spoken privately, kind of off the record, off the cuff, but let's talk as brothers publicly, since we have 50,000 people listening. But talk like there's not 50,000 people listening. So you just so that everyone knows, Anthony is the guy who inspired me to take the train. He did it even before I even knew it was a thing. And Anthony, just say a few words about the film. You saw it in the theater for the first time. You participated in it in Mexico, but just give the world your thoughts on the film and what it means.
Yeah, absolutely. This is something that is kind of personal to me, especially select parts of it are even more personal to me because, my brother and I were among the first, I think the first ever Americans. I say maybe not because perhaps there are other Americans that didn't document it, but as far as I know, we're the first Americans to take the whole trail from Quito, Ecuador to the US. And this touched upon some critical points that we took during that journey. One of those being the Mexican train of death, which is this freight train that is, conveniently stopped in this town called Irapuato in Mexico. And there's an NGO right by there called Amigos del Tren that hands all the illegal aliens maps and tells them exactly how to get on the train. And, people hop on the train with infants, and it's in the middle of the night in cartel-controlled territory. There's stories when you talk to this NGO that operates there, Amigos del Tren, of people, losing their limbs as they slip and fall trying to get on this thing, right? And so that's the kind of thing that we did. And so we hopped on this sucker in the middle of the night and ended up being detained by the Mexican military. And James was able to get that all on camera. I didn't think it was going to come. I was like, there's no way that's going to pick it up in the dark, but it did. It picked it up very well. His little watch cam.
Those watch cameras are very special. But Anthony, just so that everyone knows, Anthony Rubin took the train. You said from where? In Ecuador?
No, well, we took the whole trail. We marched the trail, but we also took the train in the same spot that you and I took it.
And did you see any death? Like, did you see death when you were on that route?
No, we didn't see any dead body. We saw other things, but we didn't see any dead bodies.
Now, what were the other? I mean, and this was the footage that was initially destroyed when the cartel took a crowbar to your cameras, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some of the other things that we saw, when we crossed the Darien Gap, for example, I saw what the reality is crossing through that jungle. It was once pristine jungle. It was left like that for a reason. The Darien Gap is that isthmus that connects North and South America. And they left it like that for a certain reason. And that reason was if there was ever a war or a plague or something of the like, it could be sequestered between, either continent that it was taking place on. But now it's become a human trafficking highway. When we were going through there, we saw, for example, small children that were knocked out, incapacitated, and being hauled through the jungle. We stayed at this makeshift camp that is in the middle of the jungle, and it's become essentially like a dumping ground. It's a landfill because you can imagine all of these people come through, hundreds per group, and they sleep there, and they all shit there and piss there and leave their trash. And the next group comes, and they do it for years, and so you sleep in a landfill, escorted by men with rifles. And it's that sort of thing. And you realize the reality of what this is. It's not humanitarian. It's about shuffling all these people up here through very dangerous circumstances. And so, James, you touch upon the end of that, starting with the train of death, which is a good place to start. And then you show the derivative effects in the United States, like at La Jornada, another organization we're both familiar with. You show the documentary shows us, everybody. You can see there was an NGO which may still be operating. Honestly, I don't even know because I don't think that anything got pressed against them.
You're talking
incredibly.
About
La Jornada. Yeah, everybody will see this in the documentary. There is an NGO up in New York, so this is downstream, past the train of death, way past. Right. Once they get to the United States, there was an NGO that stamps these people. You pay $10, and they stamp you a fake residency card for New York State. And so now you could be anybody. You could be a Chinese spy. You could be a terrorist. You could be a saboteur. Doesn't matter. You've now got, boom, residency in the United States illegitimately.
You and I could spend an hour and a half talking to each other. We have like 10 people. But I want to ask you, just so that everyone, Anthony Rubin is kind of a hero of mine in a way, because I just have to ask you, because everyone's always, you and I did this with Taylor, who's also in this space. Taylor, are you there? Can you just unmute yourself, Taylor, Rio Grande Valley guy? Taylor? Taylor's requested to get in, so we'll get Taylor in a minute. But Anthony, what made you the way that you are? Because everyone always asks me, like, are you insane? Like, why would you jump on a moving train? You could get your leg chopped off, kidnapped. I mean, what made you this way? And how can we make other people that way? Because we need brave people to expose things.
Well, I have two answers. One is a little bit more high level. Another one is maybe equally as high level, depending on how you look at it. The one answer is I love this country. And to me, this is maybe top 3 issues facing this country. Maybe top 1 and 2 being the impending collapse of the U.S. dollar and the thermonuclear war, right? But I can't really film those. This is one of the top 3, but you could actually go out and film it, right? So that being the case, I saw that there was a lot of this that wasn't being covered, and so if you want to see something done right, you just do it yourself. So that's number one. But number
anybody, you're what are you, 27, 28? What
27.
27 with like a GoPro, whatever. Why is nobody else doing this? Why does it fall upon you? That's the question I get at. I don't know how to answer that question. Maybe you have some perspective.
No, I think that more people need to take action, but also there's a love for this stuff. And that was going to be my second answer. At the end of the day, we've all seen the Dos Equis commercial where it's like, he's the most interesting man in the world. For me, it's also about the experience and the journey, and knowing that when I'm an old man, I want to be a storied individual when I'm on my deathbed. And so maybe that's part of it. Like, having that goal of not dying a boring person, I think drives me to do this. And when you couple that with love of country, it kind of blends into what we've created at muckraker.com.
Now, you're listening to Anthony Rubin, the muckraker, he calls himself, which is my favorite word. In fact, Anthony, I didn't name my company Muckraker because people are like, don't name your company, can't even pronounce the word. But you were more brave than I and named your company Muckraker. Stay on, because I'm going to have to talk to both of you. Taylor, are you there? RGV, unmute yourself.
I am here. How you guys doing?
Now we got Taylor and Anthony, the 3 amigos. Now, you guys, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't have jumped on the crazy train of death. Everyone's talking about the train of death and the scene in the film Line in the Sand. And Taylor, you had encountered something that we unfortunately did not get on video because the aperture of the lens was too dark. But can you talk about the ninja? You saw some strange occurrence happened where a guy with a machete. Can you just tell people what that was all about, walking through the beast train?
Oh yes, the Order of Mexican Ninjas. Yes. So when I was with Muckraker and we did our.
Before you start, Taylor.
Yes.
Taylor was the guy in the film with me and Anthony on top of the freight train. This was something that they had done previous to me. Go ahead, Taylor.
So when I met Muckraker, it's quite the story. But anyways, he's saying, I'm going to Amigos Del Train. I've been tracking those guys forever. Let's do it. So as we're making our way to the train from the NGO to the train, you've got a mile or so, and it's not the best area. And they line, basically everybody gets in a big line in a group, and they line people up, and they're keeping them in the shadows on one side of the tracks and then telling them to go to the other side. Who is they? The Mexican Ninjas. So I didn't see this guy first.
Mexican what?
The Mexican Ninjas. These are guys. So basically what happened was Anthony's like, oh, there's Cartel right there. I said, no, there's no, and you can hear, I have an old video where I go, no, there's no way. Oh shit. And yes, it was. What these guys were, they were dressed up in all black, neck gaiters, everything, their face covered. They had a shotgun with a bandolier, and as they turned around and walked, they had machetes like samurai swords on their back.
So how did you avoid these Mexican ninjas from harming you?
We just stayed in the crowd and stayed in the shadows, and then just moved with
shadows. Now,
yes.
When the 3 of us were walking, and I do have this tape. Maybe we'll release some of it as behind the scenes. But we're walking to the train, and do you remember when that we saw some people towards us, and you told me to hide, and we laid down on the edge of the track? That was that was wild. I mean, do you think that you could have gotten killed, or we could have gotten killed, or Taylor? Does that scare you, or does that deter you, or what's going through your mind in these situations?
It's the best way to stay alive is avoid the fight in the first place. Be 10 steps ahead any bad situation. So that's why you take those extra precautions. Now, that truck that was coming down was, I believe, the railroad company, which, they can call the police. They can do a lot of things, and you never know who else they're looking out for. So always good to stay in the shadows. But yeah, it was, that truck came down. I said, hey, let's all get out of sight. as far as what's going through my head, it's just, okay, what do we got to do next? Just kind of stay in the pocket and stay focused on what you're doing. That's just how I do it.
You're listening to Taylor, aka Rio Grande Valley YouTuber, Rumble video maker, and muckraker, aka Anthony Rubin, talk about their experiences both with me and separately riding the train of death in Mexico. This is all in the movie Line in the Sand. Taylor and Anthony, you saw it in the theater. It was the first time you saw it in its entirety. You guys participated in a portion of it. First, Anthony, was there some part of this film that really moved you, or something that you really want people to see more than any other part?
Yeah, I think that, you had asked me what my favorite part was, and I totally forgot about the part with the NGO that we were just talking about, because there's so much in this video. I mean, it's one of the most jam-packed documentaries you might ever see. It's just cut after cut after cut. There's a ton of information in it. You really got to pay attention. And I think probably the scene that stuck out the most is this scene with La Jornada, which is this NGO, which, by the way, received over 200,000 federal taxpayer dollars very recently.
I didn't know
they
that.
did from Congresswoman Grace Meng. She's the congresswoman in that area, and worth noting. And they get on video the head of this NGO just stamp. It's not like it's like some low-level worker. It's the head of this NGO. And the guy comes across, and I'm not accusing him of anything, but if you look at him, he comes across almost like a mob boss, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Like, and so
now when he was screaming at me, Heritage Foundation, you had a bunch of, was he like referring to you? Why did he bring up Heritage Foundation?
I think he must have. I think you and I probably visited that spot like at the same time. I don't know. I don't know when you guys visited, but he goes up to James and he accuses James of stealing children and saying he's wanted in all these countries. And it was just like total projection, right? This guy's caught red-handed. He doesn't know what to do. So
let's listen to 30 seconds of this guy here. Here we go. This is Pablo.
Because you are a bunch of thieves and criminals and liars. You are unbelievable.
Having fake addresses.
Because you are a bunch of thieves and criminals. You steal children. You have been wanted in 3 states in South America. You are still children.
Never been to South.
Yes, they steal children. Yeah, they do. They take children. Yes, they do. You know.
Have beside on the address.
Yeah, look at that name. Look at that name. You are not that person. You are a liar.
How am I a liar?
Because you lie.
Why are you stamping addresses?
No, because you are a liar. You are not that person. You told me yesterday you were that person, and you are not that person.
We're investigative reporters. How am I stealing children?
Why?
Yes.
I don't know.
How am I stealing children? Why? I don't know. So is that him trying to muddy the waters with his church-going parishioners, or is that him projecting because he steals children, Anthony?
I think he was trying to make you out. In my opinion, I have no idea. Maybe I don't know. I mean, maybe it warrants a second investigation, right?
Yeah,
but
maybe we need to go back. Maybe you and I need to both go back to. I'm pouring myself a second glass of this stuff. I don't drink, really. You know what I mean? I don't drink. I haven't had a drink in a month, but I'm having a drink because I got my cast and crew of this film, and we're having a good day. Anthony, I think we need to go back to La Jornada and talk to Pedro Rodriguez again.
I think you're right.
I think we got to go back, and we'll have lots of cameras. Lots of cameras. We have so many people to get to. Guys, any last words, Anthony, Taylor, anything else you want to say about the film? LineInTheSandMovie.com.
That's it, guys. It's $9 a month. And people always ask, James, you've talked about this at length. And now more recently, I'm starting to get these messages, which is, all these, well-intentioned Americans saying, how could I help? They see the videos we put out and they're moved and they want to know how they can help. And it's hard to really say that because it's not like we could give a million directives, but it's going to take too much time. And it's kind of like you guys need to go out and do it yourselves, right? But the one way you can help if you truly want to support our work is by sharing it, number one, or in this case, you pay $9, the cost of a cup or two of coffee, and, support the work that, James in this case has spent, over a year of his life putting together. And that's how you can support.
Yeah. And Taylor, what are your last thoughts?
Are you telling me for just the price of a cup of coffee a day, I can support independent journalism in America?
Yes.
That sounds great.
Yes.
But I would, yeah, absolutely. That's the way to support you guys. I mean, OMG, James, you guys worked so hard on this. I was there to witness sleepless nights, the whole thing. But I would say, like, my favorite part, or what stuck out to me the most, of course, was just the raw facts of how much these NGOs are getting of our tax money, and then also that little girl there at the border wall. I mean, that's like, yeah, words can't really describe. So
sometimes it's Taylor. It's like one moment in space and time when you personalize something. It matters more than 10,000 pages of written evidence and statistics. Just a little girl saying her dad's in heaven. That was hard for people to
oh
hear.
yeah,
That was
yeah.
hard for people.
So, but I just want to say,
we could have shown a lot worse. We could have shown rape. We could have shown death. But sometimes, I don't think we should show that stuff. I think that's not right to put into, it's like a snuff film. But that little girl saying, her clothes are tattered. I mean, that's just horrible. That's horrible.
It absolutely is. And I just want to say really quick, on the 23rd in Edinburgh, Texas, down here in the Rio Grande Valley, there's going to be a candlelight vigil for the over 300,000 missing UACs, unaccompanied children. And you can look for Ash. She's on my page there. I retweeted that. She'll be leading that up. So if anybody can make it in the Rio Grande Valley, that would be, I think, a very important event. Thank you.
All right, now thank you guys. We're going to go just so you're listening to the cast and crew of Line in the Sand. People say, how could I watch the film? You simply go to lineinthesandmovie.com, $9. Tucker Carlson's our partner. It's exclusively through Tucker Carlson's website. It's worth it, guys. I guarantee you, you have never seen a movie like this. I've been told I've had Democrats contact me. I've had liberal, I wouldn't call them communists. I've had people left of center appreciate the film because it comes at it from an empathetic perspective with the plight of the illegal immigrants, the plight of these people. Hell, if I was in Venezuela, I'd probably be trying to get in the United States myself. Let's go to Anthony Aguero. Anthony, you there?
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Hey, brother, why don't you tell the world your reaction to the film? You've seen it in the theater. I know you participated in a lot of the film, but I don't think you had seen it in one sitting. Give the people tell them what you think about the film and your experiences with it.
Well, first off, it's definitely all boots on the ground, and people get to see a completely different perspective than when you have people put documentaries together of other people's work. This is actual boots on the ground journalism, breaking frontiers and stepping it up to a whole nother level as far as some of the, what I probably call them stunts that we ended up pulling. We literally, you were hanging off the truck. You jumped on those trains. We went through cartel tunnels. Like, there's no other film or documentary that really exposes the harsh reality of what's currently happening on the southern border. And my hat's off to everybody that came together and everybody that put in their little grain of sand to make this documentary so successful.
And Anthony, the scene where you captured of the two little girls alone, can you talk a little bit about that moment for you and the circumstances behind it and what you felt, what you saw, what you witnessed, what you experienced? Because Aguero was the one who caught that. So could you speak to that? Anthony, you there?
Yes, the minute that the Biden administration removed the protocols as far as DNA testing, it was just a massive influx of children that were coming across the southern border. Many of these kids, before they started really drugging them, many of these kids were coming over, and my understanding is they were being told that they were meeting with their mom, they were meeting with their dad. But in reality, the sponsors and the people on the information piece of paper that they were being sent with did not match no name or address to their family members. nonetheless, these kids continue to get moved into the country. A lot of times, agents unfortunately know that these kids are not going to a family member or a parent, but they are put between a rock and a sword and pretty much are told either you continue processing or, you'll face consequences. So these kids continue to get processed. And a lot of these kids end up being recycled. It's the recycled children of the border, in which cases kids come across the border with grown adults, and the minute the adult gets access into the country and gets expedited their paperwork and released, this child then gets returned to the trafficking organization, in which that child comes back across the border with another adult to do the whole process.
Now, Anthony, could you just speak to that when you encountered that little girl, just what was going through your mind? Because you say it's heartbreaking. She said her daddy's in heaven. Just walk us through that moment.
It was it's never easy to encounter these situations as a father of an almost 20-year-old female. It's very hard to have to just put it in the back of my mind and continue working. I think to a certain extent, we've been callous to some of the situations that we are prone down here on the border. And that one and the little girl that comes out in the beginning of the film, that child was literally rescued from a trafficking situation in which they sent decoy migrants one way, and that child was directed to go to a completely different location. And you can just see in her face the confusion. She's just lost.
Now, Anthony, does it surprise you? The audience was so shocked by that scene. It seems to be like one of the major. Everyone was crying in the theater in Newport Beach when they saw that. Have you become numb to it yourself, or having been on the border, seeing all this stuff in person?
I don't think I've become numb to it. I think I've just learned to hide it a little better than others, brother.
Yeah. I mean, and credit to Anthony Aguero, because he spends every waking minute recording, and he captures things that nobody else captures. Because a lot of this, Anthony, seems to be just us being down. When you're there every day, you can't plan it, right? You can't plan the cartel calling, threatening us and calling me a quote faggot, and we couldn't have planned that. It was just because we were there for days.
It's just a matter of being there, and a lot of the times you just got to be patient and be scouting out here. I'm actually down here in the San Diego sector right now on the border, overlooking the National Guard in Mexico, trying to capture that moment, waiting for that situation to come about so we can try to expose.
And Anthony, you also said that you found some addresses of unaccompanied children. Can you talk a little about the work that you're continuing to do?
Right. So thanks to the movie and people watching it, we've had Border Patrol agents reach out, and they are just bombarding me with information with children that are being attempted smuggled children across the border, in which Border Patrol is apprehending them. And I'm getting the addresses and information to where these kids are essentially being dropped off at. I am on the process of crowdsourcing to be able to go out and showcase some of the locations that these kids are being taken to. I've already looked up a lot of these addresses, and these are not nice areas. These are very, very rough neighborhoods that these kids are being pretty much spread all across the whole country, pretty much.
Anthony Aguero, your favorite moment from the film, a moment that moved you the most?
Having seen the courage of one single soul, Zach. The last 8-9 years, I've prayed for Border Patrol agents to take a stand and do what is right on the atrocities that they are witnessing, and a lot of the unconstitutional duties that they are being forced into compliance to. And that for me The fact that we had one individual with that kind of courage, it was all worth it to me, because now people are starting to wake up. More people are starting to wake up, and now we're seeing Border Patrol agents coming to light and taking a stand.
I can tell everyone that when Aguero saw the film, it was almost like a spiritual experience there. We were at the Airbnb in California, and we were all crying because Zach single-handedly inspired like an army of people to reach out to us. What a remarkable thing. And Aguero, you and I are going to be in constant communication, and thank you for your courage and your just constantly being down there. I mean, you show up, and that's really what matters. And thank you for doing this, and we appreciate you. Before we go to the next person, I did say in the space that I have an announcement about an exclusive bombshell that we're dropping, and we are dropping it right after the space. So what is that, like 6 o'clock, 5:45, something like that? What time is it now? It's 5:11 on the East Coast. 5:11, that's the name of a company, a clothing brand. All right, did you know that? No, apparently. So we have a bombshell inside Facebook, and excuse me, is it Meta or Facebook? Meta, but there's a difference between Instagram and Facebook.com. You know, Meta is the parent company. So we have a bombshell software engineer, plural software engineers, have been caught on tape, apparently talking about meddling in the election. Now, this stuff does not come as a shock to any of you, obviously, but it is a shock that we caught on tape. You know, that's the other thing people say. We already know this. It's like, yeah, but you have to confirm the suspicion. And furthermore, it's shocking that we caught it on tape. Just like the film Line in the Sand. We all know the border is broken, but you don't ever see this stuff. And you have to see it. And the tape that we're about to release this evening, ladies and gentlemen, it shows software engineers for Facebook saying that if you are even critical of Kamala Harris, then you will be censored. Well, that doesn't make a lot of sense. You should be allowed to be critical of anybody. We're not talking about conspiracies. We're talking about if you are just critical. This is coming out this evening. OMG dropping exclusive Meta tape bombshell after the space. Just to give you a little tease, if that's why you tuned in, I'm giving you the dirt. Here we go. Facebook part 1, Meta part 1 this evening, 6 o'clock, 45 minutes from now. Here we go. We don't stop. We don't stop. Every day we're working. And the solution is to stop lying and cheating and stealing, and then you won't be famous. But if you lie and cheat and steal, we're going to make you famous. All right, let's go to the next person. Let's go to Tara Rodas. Tara, whistleblower, Health and Human Services. How are you?
Hey, James. I'm great. So happy to be here. And thanks to everybody who worked on this film. Muckraker, Anthony, Taylor, James, all of you guys are absolute heroes for being true citizen journalists, you know, delivering the truth, whatever the cost. And anybody listening, you must see this film. You must see this film. You are going to be able to see the shocking reality that, as everybody has mentioned, we all know is happening. But when you get to see it as if you're right in the action that's happening now, remember, there are no actors in this film. Nothing is made up. These guys are just filming what they see. And I think most people are going to be shocked. People who have seen the film since knowing about all of this stuff that I've been telling them for the last 3 years, they have even said, oh my goodness, you've been telling me this for 3 years, but when I saw it with my own eyes, you know, it's totally different. So my hat's off to you, James. Thank you so much for being in this fight to save these kids and to just show people the truth. Yeah, the truth is shocking.
Tara, a lot of people say, you know, what you're saying, you must watch this, you must read this book, you must watch this movie. What makes this different in your experience as a viewer? Because I don't think you had seen the full movie until you were in the theater in Newport Beach.
Correct. So first, it's not a political film. And again, there are no actors. This is happening right before people's eyes. And I think that's what's so stunning, is that the federal government is spending, and of course, many of these programs have been going on for years, spending billions of dollars, and the result is the humanitarian crisis of our lifetime. This is the humanitarian crisis of our lifetime, and people are suffering. And I think you absolutely captured that on film. It was really hard because I've looked into the eyes of these kids. Many people know that, and there's some people on this call too. We processed over 8,300 kids out of the Pomona Fairplex in less than 6 months, less than 6 months.
That's in the Los Angeles.
Yeah,
area.
Los Angeles, Pomona, California. And I've looked into the eyes of those kids who looked just like that, shell-shocked, not knowing what's happening, having panic attacks, having to be put on suicide watch. And this, you get to see that the average person gets a glimpse into the truth of what's really happening. And I think that's what people need to see. You know, as James, you just said, if they would just stop lying, just tell the truth, say we have a problem and then we can fix it. But everybody's trying to pretend there's no problem. There's a massive problem, friends, on the border, and you've got to see the film.
It's like if you're an alcoholic, you have to acknowledge that you are an alcoholic before you can fix it.
Yeah.
But what struck a lot of people, Tara, is that when these people, when we snuck into these facilities in the Southwest Keys, and you're listening to Tara Rodas, she's the whistleblower, Health and Human Services, or she has told the truth about child trafficking, sponsors, etc. And Tara, you still work for the federal government, correct?
That is correct. I still do.
So I point out in the film, they did not fire you, which people might find counterintuitive because you blew the whistle and they like to retaliate against people. Can you just say a few words about that?
Yes. Well, so fortunately, I was what's called on loan or on detail. So I actually was on detail. They did walk me off the site, took my badge, threatened me with investigation in hopes that my home agency would fire me. But when my home agency learned that I had reported that children were being trafficked through a sophisticated program and that they were going to MS-13, my agency said, whoa, oh my goodness, what in the world? They should be giving you and your team medals. There's people on this call who deserve a medal for what they did in coming forward. And instead, they try to shut you up. So I'm very fortunate in that I work with honest people who do care about the truth. They care about the use of taxpayer dollars. They care about the suffering of children. So fortunately, they were actually going to send armed agents to escort me from California back to DC. Looking back, I should have said yes, but my husband was already en route. So my husband escorted me home. But I still have my job because I told the truth, and I will continue to tell the truth.
And one of the things you struck me that you said, I think you and I and Zach were talking, and you had mentioned, as long as you tell the truth, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Can you just elaborate? Because I found that very profound. And I think people are so scared. I mean, fear is like beyond palpable. I've never seen a bunch of more, everyone's a scaredy cat. Everyone's scared, losing their pension, can't feed their family, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But you said something really profound there. And I just want you to elaborate on that. Yeah,
well, the truth stands up to scrutiny. Nobody should fear if you are actually telling the truth. And James, I remember, we've had multiple conversations, and I don't want anybody to think or walk away from the space saying, wow, Tara's a hero. No, I was on my face in tears. I cannot tell you how many tears I've cried in 3 years. I could not begin to explain. But what I will say is that, Isaiah 41:10 says, do not fear. And there comes a point where you have to decide what you're willing to stand up for and what your faith is calling you to do. But if people in the space haven't read Isaiah 41:10, I would strongly encourage you to do so, because I said it to myself every single day. Do not fear, because God says, I am with you and I will strengthen you and I will help you. And that is just a fact. We should never be afraid.
Isaiah 41:10, quote, so do not fear, for I am with you. Do not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you in my righteous right hand. That's what that verse says.
Yep. And you can take that to the bank, because God is faithful.
So scared. I think they're scared of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like they want the food for their family. Like that's what they're telling, and that's what they're saying. I mean, how am I going to afford to feed my family? I don't know. It's a palpable fear. You know, and you're the living proof. I mean, you're listening to. I always have to do this radio thing where every 2 minutes I reintroduce what I'm doing. You're listening to Tara Rodas, the whistleblower from Health and Human Services. That's the agency, many other agencies within it, but that's the overarching agency that the Border Patrol hands the kids to when they detain them and they come over the country. They give them to Health and Human Services. Tara blows the whistle. They try to retaliate against her. She tells the truth. She keeps her job. And Tara, you're dealing with millions of people who are scared to death for doing the right thing. You're the living proof that you can do the right thing and survive. And what is your pep talk, speech? What do you say to these people who are on the fence? And they're on the fence right now.
Yeah. So again, I would say do not fear and surround yourself with people who know how to go through the process. So there are 3 simple things that any whistleblower can do, and they can do it quickly, which is get on the phone to trusted people in Congress, write your testimony down for the Office of Inspector General and also for the Office of Special Counsel. You can tell the truth. And that's the thing. That's what we're called to do. You have to tell the truth. The other thing is Border Patrol agents who are out there, you great, fine Border Patrol agents who are out there keeping our homeland safe. If you were not aware, there's a thing called the HSI duty line. That is Homeland Security Investigations. You are entitled to call the HSI duty line 24/7 if you suspect you have a child that's being trafficked in front of you. And if you didn't know that, you should get that number for the sector that you're in. And if you suspect that there is trafficking, pick up that duty line. An agent will be there. They cannot investigate cases they don't know about. And so,
Hey Tara, I'd like you to give that to me, and I'm going to post that because I want to make sure that I don't think people know that, and I'm going to make sure we tweet that out.
yes, a lot of Border Patrol agents don't know that, and it's only through this investigation did we discover that Border Patrol agents are not being told about the HSI duty line. They're not being told that there's someone 24/7 waiting by a phone to come and help them with what they believe are trafficking cases. So,
I want to remind everyone to please share this space. I'm going to go for another probably 20 minutes. I've got a 6 o'clock theater. Speaking of the movie, it's in a theater in New Jersey. Theater's in New Jersey tonight, so we're going to a 6 o'clock screening in Bergen County, the township of Washington. That's actually a town over from where I grew up. You got to see this in a theater. I mean, this was edited for a theater. It's composed for a theater with surround sound. It really has been a miracle to see all this come together. Tara, your favorite moment from the film, something that resonated with you, moved you, you remember specifically?
well, the thing that is so heartbreaking, that's probably the scene that has stuck with me the most, although there's so many shocking scenes, and again, everybody has to see the movie, is the girl at the border wall. And she's standing, she's just standing there and she's all alone and just looking into the eyes of a child, realizing this is real. This is happening right now. And these children need help. The people who are being abused through the system need help. Again, this is the greatest humanitarian crisis of our lifetime. And James, my hat's off to you for telling this incredible story through the lens of a camera. And to all you other guys out there too, Muckraker, Anthony Taylor, you guys, what you've done is incredible. Allowing the American people to really see what their finances are being used for. And it's suffering of so many people. And so, James, I really thank you for doing this film.
Well, Tara, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizen journalists can change things. In fact, I would argue it's the only thing that actually will. Not the professionals, not the J school people, not the producers in New York City. No. the grassroots. And thank you, Tara. We could go on for an hour, but I appreciate you. Tara introduced me to a man named Carlos Arellano. Carlos, are you there?
I'm here,
Carlos.
James. Can you hear me?
How you doing, brother Carlos?
Oh, I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
Now, Carlos, you in the film, you're talking to these guys in the desert about organ harvesting, and unfortunately, the camera malfunctioned because of the wind. But can you first? Well, we got so much to talk about, but first talk about that scene and what you heard, and maybe what the camera didn't have a chance to show.
Well, I started talking to the guys because I heard them panicking, and I saw them kind of shooken up. And as I got closer, they started talking about what their experience was in Tijuana, and it just started getting crazier and crazier. But what really stuck with me, and sadly, this is what the wind caused a disruption, and you can't really hear it. But one of the guys starts to share with someone else next to us about how they got offered a kidney by a cartel member, and the cartel member told them that the kidney was from a 2 or a 3-year-old kid. And this was in Tijuana, and they were talking about organ harvesting, and they were talking about kidneys. They were talking about, I forget what the other one was, but it was all the organ harvesting talk was it was 2 years old. It came from a 5-year-old, really crazy stuff. And
wow,
I used to be one of those that was like, no, there's no way this is going on. Like, organ harvesting is too crazy. And in that moment, it just really, it ruined the rest of my day.
And Carlos, the guy had like a black glove on, which I've been told represents, I don't know, some type of former criminal activity. He was hiding his fingers. There was something. Did you notice that?
I noticed it. Yeah, I did. And I also noticed he had tons of tattoos, and I couldn't make out what they were,
Wow.
but his whole entire body was pretty much tatted up. And they started talking to each other, and when they noticed me trying to listen into the conversation, they kind of took a step back and didn't really want to tell me what they were talking about. But it was crazy stuff. That the desert out there in California, I wouldn't be able to do what people like Aguero do every day. That's just sad to hear all that stuff every day.
And you've worked as a transport specialist, and can you just talk a little bit about that whole industrial complex as you see it, both from your perspective and how it was portrayed in the film, and talk about your experience?
Yeah, so for 2 decades, I worked for NGOs for seven years. I worked as a transportation specialist. My job was to move children from point A to point B. So I would get about 4 or 5 kids from the border in Texas, California, Arizona, get on airplanes and deliver them across the country. And we visited every single entire state, even Hawaii. And the most concerning part about all this was that for those 7 years, I was picking up children from the Walmarts. And there's journalists who have visited the Walmart in Brownsville, but I always wanted someone to visit the one in Raymondville, Texas. And no one would ever listen to me about the one in Raymondville, sadly.
Why not? Why not?
You know, I asked myself that question. I guess just, how much evil's going around in that place. Because the reason why I wanted someone to visit that Walmart until you came along and you went with me, was because the youngest baby I ever moved was a 3-month-old baby, and it was out of this Walmart. So this Walmart has babies from 2 all the way to 10 months old. And you get in there, you just see a sea of cribs. And I think the security guard tells us that when we're in my truck. He says, "Oh, we got babies in here." And I don't have an education, a background in children. I don't have children myself. I dropped out of high school. I got a GED, but they entrusted me with a 3-month-old to move them from Texas to the East Coast. And that has always bothered me. I always regret it. And
you know what else is bothersome? When we went to you're listening to Carlos, we're talking about lineinthesandmovie.com. Line in the Sand, the film, which is groundbreaking film. And it's no small part because of people like Carlos, who him and I snuck into these child encampments that you've never heard of in the middle of nowhere in Texas. And Carlos, you talked to a gatekeeper, and what struck me was he immediately started talking about money. It was almost like the children were commodities. What you had recorded this encounter with this gatekeeper. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so during the conversation with this gatekeeper, I think he told us that he gets a better pay, he gets a raise if he does his job right and keeps this place a secret. I think he told us that, if I'm not mistaken. And there are bonuses involved when it comes to these children.
That was so strange. Sorry, interject, because people who have not seen the film, Carlos asked the guy, "Is it pay well?" And he's like, "Oh, it pays well, and it's not a very stressful job." That was a weird thing for him to tell you. And then he tells you, this is the gatekeeper of the secret child facility, "I'm not supposed to tell you what it is, but you guessed it." And then he says, "I'm really good about obeying orders not to tell anybody." What type of crazy people are they hiring to work at these places?
Well, they don't do any backgrounds. They do the backgrounds as you're working. So that security guard could be a rapist, could be a really bad person, and the company won't figure it out until 3-4 months into this person working, being around children. So there's a lot of times where I would show up to a Walmart and I would say, "Hey, where's Jose? Where's Raul?" And they'll tell me, "Oh, his background came back and it was dirty, so we had to let them go."
I mean, Carlos, how do we solve all this? Like, what's the solution? Do you just need a ballsy politician to defund the entire administrative state? Like, what is? I mean, I think the solution is to know about it, but beyond that, what's the solution?
Yeah, I mean, there's people on both sides who are in on it, and I think I agree with you, is that it just needs to keep being exposed over and over again. I've had politicians on both ends who promise me things and never do anything. You're actually the person who's done the most when it comes to these, one of the persons who's done the most out of these when it comes to these children, because others just make false promises, get my hopes up. And when it came to you and I asked you, "Hey, can you come down, visit the Walmart?" You said, "Show me." So I'm really thankful for that, James. I was going crazy there for a second, thinking no one would come.
I think I'm probably too much on the action-oriented side sometimes, but thank you. Hey, Carlos, favorite moment from the film, something that moved you, something you're indelible in your memory that you liked the best?
It was just seeing how you brought everybody together, seeing from Kara to Muckraker to RGB Truth to Anthony Aguero. It was pretty cool seeing it all come together. Everybody has their own experience at the border, and it was just amazing seeing all the people doing it.
It was the first citizen journalism movie, and to make the movie theaters. They told us it couldn't be done, but we did it anyway. By the way, shit ton of post-production work. I mean, the amount of we have 7 foreign languages, 1,000 hours of video. This is probably the most tightly cut documentary ever. If you go to the bathroom, you're going to miss everything. You can't even look away. I think Muckraker pointed that out. It's intellectually overwhelming. And that's the way I wanted it. It's probably a 2 hour and 30-minute documentary compressed into an hour and 40. An hour and 1 minute is pretty. I would say it's medium length, maybe a little on the shorter side. And there's gonna be a sequel, probably. What is the sequel called? Beyond the Line? Walking the Line? I don't know. Before we talk about sequels, let's get to the rest of the people here. And I am way over my time. I've only got about another 10 minutes. So that means I only have a few minutes for each of you. I apologize. Hey, Corey, are you there? Corey, French last name? I can't pronounce your last name.
It's Goats, something like that. But yes, I'm here.
Corey Goats. How would I just call you Corey?
There you go. How are you?
All right. Hey, Corey. So you've seen the film in the movie theater. You were in the film talking to me, the Cartel. Can you just, first of all, talk about that scene and the background behind it? Because the Cartel was threatening me and you were there. Talk about that first, and then we'll talk about your reaction to the film.
Well, you made a funny point about going to the bathroom and missing a huge portion. So while I was at the premiere, thank you for inviting my wife and I. I did go to the bathroom, and then when I got home a couple days later, and I got it on the Tucker Carlson network, and I watched it. Like, holy crap! I missed that. I missed the whole scene of the guy from the Catholic Church. I missed that whole thing.
Oh,
So
oh,
you
wow.
cannot go to the
Well,
bathroom if you watch the movie.
I've heard that people don't because they're on the edge of their seat. It's one of those movies where you're kind of like, I can't believe what I'm watching. But anyway, so you're in Campo. The cartel is calling me a fag over the radio, threatening me, speaking Spanish. You're in Mexico, but I'm not in Mexico. I'm standing in the state of California. You hear that radio chatter a lot. Does that happen every day when you're there, or was that kind of a unique thing, or what was your reaction to all that?
So at the time, what we didn't realize is that you and I were being jammed on the radio. So they were hot micing or holding the radio button down so we couldn't talk to each other. And so they were messing with our communications. And they don't do that anymore because I have better radios now. So they can't jam us anymore.
They can't jam us anymore. Maybe we should go back and just film them jamming us, because you get some very intriguing dialogue. That's what struck me. Like, maybe we just need to go back and just film them talking to us on the radio. That's an idea.
Yeah, anyway, they're not very friendly to you on the radio.
No, they're not nice. And people were shocked that the agents were kind of like just sitting there and shrugging their shoulders. And I know you probably don't want to disparage agents, make generalizations, but I think that's one of the main takeaways from the film is just the weakness and the complacence. And, I recognize these guys are kind of between a rock and a hard place, but what's your comment on all of that as someone who spends so much time?
That's a good point, because I grew up here in San Diego, so I've watched the Border Patrol go from extremely proactive. I would go out where you and I went and the rest of the team went, and within seconds, they would have stopped me. And even to go out there and go hiking and stuff, they would have stopped me and said, "Hey, what are you guys doing out here?" And now we can go out there and basically do whatever we want. And it's crazy to watch, crazy to think about, because it's a ghost town. You'll go out there along the border and do whatever you want and see all kinds of crazy things happen, and no one's there. What's unfortunate to watch is this massively proactive Border Patrol 10 years ago, 5 years ago, go from this morally beaten, it's like a beaten dog almost. And it's horrible to watch because I know how good they can be. And Tara's talked about it as well. We know we're friends with a lot of these guys. We're friends with these people. And their morale is just absent. I've called for this.
In the gutter. It's in the gutter.
I've called for the Border Patrol suicide rates to be published, and I've never seen it. So maybe you could probably do a better job than I can.
Well, if you get the names of those two agents that I spoke to, the young man as well as the guy in his 40s with the beard, if you hear anything on the ground, let us know.
We'll do.
And also that scene where the cartel guys are talking to me through the fence with the skull masks and the saw. Have you ever been face to face with them like that?
I have, and they're so brazen that they don't care. I don't know, a few weeks ago, I was taking someone else down to the border and showing them. I was driving by, they throw a ladder over, one of those rebar ladders. They throw it over and people just start climbing over right in front of us. They just do not care anymore because they know nobody's going to do anything.
I mean, that scene was wild. I mean, I thought it was interesting how they said we need to get paid. You have to let us finish the job. Like almost like were they going to get killed if they didn't finish doing that?
And I've thought about that a lot since that day. These are just questions that are going around in my head, right? Are those locals that are forced to do that job because they know where to go and they know where to cut, so nobody can stop them quickly, even though no one is stopping them? Or are those cartel members? I don't know.
Well, it seems to me like, once again, it was all about money. Even that's the words that came out of their mouth. We need to get paid. Everyone's making money off this deal. Border Patrol agents, cartel.
Yeah, except us. We're paying for it.
We're paying for it, but all those people are going to be out of a job if the crisis is solved.
Yep.
That's what's. Hey, any other part of the film that really touched you? Or I always ask people, what's your favorite moment?
I really like how you tied everything together, because my portion is just one little portion here. We have the the massive portion, especially there's 150,000 people coming from Tapachula right now as we speak. So being able to tie the train all the way to the East Coast, and I know that we could go way more in depth with this stuff. It was just crazy to watch that Catholic, the church guy that somebody.
The New York City guy screaming at me saying, "You steal children."
It was crazy to watch.
You are wanted in all the states, and you are wanted in all the states of New York. I don't even know what he means by the state. I mean, counties in New York.
So
states?
He just massively went on the defense right off the bat, right? So why would you be so defensive if you weren't guilty?
I mean, it's just, this is the inherent in the work that we do, which is the narcissism is an overused word, but the dividing line between good and evil in every human heart. And sometimes men do not succumb to their better angels. And when they are caught so unequivocally so, they are forced to hate the person that is truth-telling about them. It's really a deeper concept. It's psychological, but glad that thanks, Corey. And hey, if there's one thing that we did not expose that still needs to be exposed, maybe something the world doesn't know yet, what would that be?
The piece of land that you were standing on out there, we were on a lot of different pieces of land, but one of the pieces of land is owned by P. Diddy's former bodyguard.
P. Diddy's former bodyguard owns the piece of
where
land
the fence,
where he had filmed that introductory scene.
One of the spots where the fence ends in Campo. It's actually Boulevard, but yes.
Huh.
Yeah, kind of weird, huh?
Huh. I'm going to tell you something else that's very weird. You're listening live. You're listening to Corey Goat. He's the guy in the film. He's a colleague of mine. Runs a foundation, exposes what's happening, goes face to face with smugglers, cartel members. You're listening live here on the Line in the Sand film, and the cast are on the air, but this just happened a moment ago. We're about to break a story inside Meta Facebook. This is a software engineer saying that they're going to censor you if you criticize Kamala. Meta removed one of my colleagues' account, but they just reinstated him. Okay, they're messing with us, but we're back on Meta. They're going to start banning our accounts because now we're investigating Instagram. Someone said we should investigate Netflix. We go after all the sacred cows: Disney, Facebook, Instagram, Cartel. I mean, it's like, what's next? I mean, FBI, Pfizer. It's like my staff wants to get me killed. I mean, you pick the most powerful people in the world to mess with. All right, you can be blacklisted from everywhere. You know what I mean? Let's investigate Tucker Carlson. Come on, guys. I mean, that's how you know. So thank you, Corey. We've only got a few minutes left, and I know there's like 100 people to talk to, but we're running out of time. What else we got? I guess we got Spirit, Juan. We didn't get to Aaron. We're going to have to do that another time. Well, is Aaron on the show? Is Aaron here? Do we have Aaron on? Aaron Vecchi?
Checking.
Well, we got a Border Patrol agent here, guys. We got a Border Patrol whistleblower, government whistleblower, who's on standby. We're going to get him in a moment, but before we do that, let's go to Juan. Juan, you there? Juan Diaz?
Yeah, James, how you doing?
Hey, brother, you see the film yet?
I haven't had a chance to see the whole film, but I gotta say, man, it's amazing that you were able to work on this and help show the whole disaster that is this border crisis, just showing how it's been a disaster for not just the U.S., but also for Mexico. And I gotta say, you're one of the ballsiest journalists I've ever met. Going to Mexico when so many journalists are afraid of getting killed down here, that's a lot of respect, man.
Now, are they actually going to kill an American journalist? Maybe yes, but you would know more because you know more about that than I do.
Well, it's at the moment, it can be hard to tell because in the moment, when they don't know who you are, who knows what could happen? Like when you were in La Bestia and got stopped, especially with all these organizations that have people in cahoots with these criminal organizations, you never know. But like I said, man, God bless you, man, for doing this work to help pretty much spread what's going on with this disaster in the border. And I was very happy to be able to guide you through Mexico City with the migrant camps there.
Well, yeah, watch the film, Juan, as soon as you can. I'll send you a screener, and I appreciate you helping me there in Mexico City. You got a little cameo in the film and inside the church. Remember when the guy said, "Let's play tourist," and we had to kind of sneak around there?
Yeah.
So it's very interesting to see the. I think it changed me, Juan, to spend some time with these people. I don't know how to explain it. Just they have nothing, and you know, they all they got is a bottle of water and a cloth, and this is their world.
Yeah.
It's a very different perspective. It makes it more humanitarian, the humanism of it, the humanity of the situation. And then you begin to realize these people are going through hell. And we're funding it. So thank you, Juan. And do we have the Border Patrol agent? How about Kais? Kais, you there?
Yes, sir.
All right, you're gonna be the last one up here. Well, maybe Spirit too. I'm gonna have Spirit say a few words. Kais, are you going to Vermont tomorrow to cover this hearing?
Yes, sir.
So
Yep.
just so we're clear, we got a lot of people listening here on the show. Border Patrol agent Zachary is being retaliated against by the Customs Border Protection tomorrow at 2 o'clock. There's a hearing in Newport, Vermont. Kais, the citizen journalist, is going up to the parking lot. Kais, going to get some answers. Tell us a little about your intention tomorrow and what you're going to try to find out.
So basically, it's unacceptable to have retaliation against the whistleblower saying the truth. And, you know, I had the idea to go there, and then I'm heading tomorrow morning from New York City. If anybody else wants to join, I have a car ready. So if you want to join, you're most welcome. And we're going to go and get some answers.
You're hearing it here. If you are an individual, this is my call to action, and Anthony Muckraker said it so well. What can I do, James? What do they say to us? What's the message we get, team? It's like, if there's anything, what was it? Oh, how can I help? So I have 10,000 messages. How can I help? My response to you is, why don't you offer a suggestion on how you think you can help, and I will help you do that thing. That's always going to be my response. So a lot of I call it, forgive me for my bluntness, but a lot of you like me for that. So I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. I call it therapeutic bitching. 99 out of 100 people that say, how can I help, have actually no intention of doing anything. They just feel good typing a message saying that they're going to help. If you actually want to do the thing, go do the thing. Nothing's stopping you. I don't have any magical powers. It is your will. It is your ability to confront fear. And speaking of that, you want to know how you can help? Here's how you can help. If you live anywhere between New York City and Boston, Massachusetts, or New Jersey, or New York State, there's a hearing tomorrow in Vermont at 2 o'clock. And this brave man, Zachary, who's putting everything on the line, he's willing to get proverbially crucified for you and the children. He is to a degree dying for your sins. He is going up against these people in Vermont at the Border Patrol station at 2 o'clock in Newport, Vermont. And if you want to do something, go to the parking lot with your phone and start asking questions of these officials. You have a First Amendment right to stand in that parking lot and ask officials, why are they retaliating against Zach? And Kais, are you willing to accept DMs from people if they want to help you, if they want to go there? Are your DMs
Yes,
open,
please.
Kais? All right.
Yeah, my DM is open. If you need anything, just text me. The other thing, James, if you allow me to mention that.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you go to the parking lot, I urge you to be to act peacefully.
Peaceful, yes.
You don't want
yes.
Because what happened, I was Googling yesterday, and they issued a new law in Vermont. If you attack, even verbally, a Border Patrol agent, you can be...
No. That goes without saying. You have to stay calm. You do have a right. You do have a right to take a photograph. You can have your camera out in the open. No trespassing. Stay in the parking lot. Stay on the side of the road. Stay on the sidewalk. and ask questions of your public officials. You have that right. And if you want to do this, rather than ask me how you can help, why don't you come up with a plan to go do the thing? We need to stand behind these whistleblowers. Now, I've got to go. Unfortunately, everyone, I have to go to the theater. We have a showing here. We got to go, but let me say a few more words. We got the Facebook story, meta story coming out momentarily. Stay tuned for that. Line in the Sand is the name of the film. If you have not seen it, we ask you to go to tuckercarlson.com and watch it. It's $9, okay? Which is what you spent on coffee today.
Link is in
The link is in the
nest.
nest, which is the thing below this. I would ask that you buy the film. Support this team. Support these people. Help me pay their salaries. And you're going to love the film. It is not a political thing. It's not a political documentary. It doesn't preach to you. It is truly an enjoyable and memorable experience. It's enlightening. It's enraging. It's funny. It's tragic. It's sad. It's inspiring. And tomorrow in Vermont, Zachary Apotheker, the Border Patrol whistleblower, he is facing a hearing. Go there, report on it. If you want more information, DM me or DM Kais. O'Keefe out. I'm Irish goodbying. See y'all later. Thank you.
We got an unaccompanied minor right here, guys. This is heartbreaking right here.
See the handcuffs? Those criminals are being put with the kids?
Yep.
They're putting the criminals with the kids.
Does sacrificing your value system and integrity to feed your family make you a bad person?
They're putting blinders on right now to stop us from seeing what's happening.
There seemed to be an internal struggle between doing what people perceived as the morally right thing and pursuing their livelihood.
You can't move 500,000 children in 3 years if you're asking a lot of questions.
Maybe it's all just human nature. Maybe the powers that be know that.
That is Cartel.
Stop the car. Stop the car.
Where are you going?
They're very upset.
They're right there. Get down.
We're in the secret facility right now. It's just all about money.
There's a car right there. They got ladders.
In front of me are all the migrants. We're headed north. It's not about people. How much money are you making off of this crisis?
Every single agent knows deep in his heart what's going on is wrong.
I know you're just trying to do your job.
We're taking children, we're then delivering them to people who they don't even know.
No papers.
What's happening inside that facility?
You know what's happening here?
They all protect each other. The NGOs.
They got the spotlight on us.
The federal government.
This is dangerous.
I don't think we can trust anybody.
America, we made it.
I'm the king of the world.
Follow the journey of the immigrants.
I can't do this, guys.
The journey of the children.
Oh, this is big time.
We're in a cartel tunnel now, dog.
And the cartel.
And the journey into human nature. Some things can't be read in a book or a newspaper. They must instead be lived.
There's nobody here to stop this. There's nobody.
Monday?
Can you just walk us through the process of the child from the wall all the way to where they eventually go?
So the first step is they're actually lured by people who are trying to take advantage of them.
Entonces le pagan a alguien para que traiga el transporte.
Sí, porque si no aquí tenemos que te mueres de hambre. Y abordan la bestia, el tren ese, no.
Ellos solitos.
Ve la gente.
Señor Pérez, ¿cómo usted sabe que eso es lo que está pasando?
Porque mira uno todo eso, todo lo que mire.
You guys have permission to be up here doing stuff?
Of the First Amendment.
Well, I mean, you can take pictures and stuff.